Perfect. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another Wordness to the Nerdness podcast, a show where nerdy guys talk about games, movies, TV, and everything else in the nerdy universe today. You can currently find our podcast on iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, SoundCloud, and now YouTube. So those of you watching us, thank you very much. You know, you're one of the few. But we want more. We want you guys to check out our Ugly Mug show on YouTube.
You have to look at this from now on.
Yeah. If you want to see what Sam's doing right this second, and yes, I said Sam, who is back from Alaska after
I
holding
burned
polar
down the
bears
state.
hostage and
I killed
burning
the
it down.
polar bears. We are safe now.
Oh boy.
Canada's next.
Yes.
I'm gonna make Michigan the true north.
Oh shit.
Canada is next. And also for you audio listeners, this is going to be a little weird because even though I started the YouTube recording, I didn't start the Zencaster. So cool. You will be starting and listening.
I'll do some evil finger stuff while we wait.
No, actually I didn't even have the thing pulled up to read. That was all off memory. I was actually quite proud of myself.
Fancy.
Wow.
This guy's a rookie.
Only 30 episodes in, we're finally getting it.
Well, first, let me introduce you to some of the guys. If you don't already know, we have got in the top left corner here one Sean Mahoney, aka the Night Assassin Cowboy.
Yo, that's good. I got some light in here.
And to my left, we have got the man with multiple Apple Watch awards, beating everybody except for yours truly.
Yeah, I'll get you.
One Curtis Noir Potter. How you doing, buddy?
What's happening?
Oh man, I'm good. And then back from the dead, back from the cold depths of hell that is Alaska, after
I survived.
mowing down polar bears and trees for 2 weeks.
That's so terrible. Oh my god.
We've got one
Savage shit.
Sam Benny.
Yeah, he doesn't mess around.
Savage.
Dude,
Oh,
this whole
Alaska's amazing. You should go there.
you know what
Don't
else
kill
is
the
funny?
polar bear.
So I literally put this whole thing together. I'm like, I could probably edit this if I really want to, but I might just leave it for the shits and gigs. But right now, as I'm recording, you guys don't see it. But on the bottom, I have Nerdy Out On, and it's gonna be the name of it, but it just says insert text here. Episode.
That's the name now.
That's the type of quality we expect, and we deliver here.
I might leave it as that, but no, it'd be unfair to the audio listeners of what Sam's gonna bring to us today.
This is throwing me off. Are my eyes really that squinty all the time?
All the time.
Jesus Christ, dude.
All the time.
That's wild, man.
But it's cool, you know.
Here, I'll hold them open. I'll try my best.
You know,
No, you just look.
Tilt the camera and
I feel like through most of the day, I have like a frown face. I'm just kind of like stern. Like people might be like, "Oh, like no, don't talk to him. He looks angry." But I feel like generally half the time I'm always like smiling. So I always feel like I've got like a little squint going on my eyes as well. But
me too.
you know,
Hey, at least one of them I
Sean
think
doesn't
is
even open his
more
eyes.
squinty than the other, so it sucks.
all right. Well, this is gonna be interesting for you visual audience because we're gonna be opening our eyes all the time, trying to make them wider, looking like psychopaths as we talk.
Am I awake?
No.
Do I look?
I've accepted my
Does
fate.
it look like I'm pinching someone?
It looks like you're trying to take the lice out of Curtis's hair or something.
Wait, I need to high five someone.
That hurt.
I don't. We're all in
way.
different squares compared to whose recording it is. So
It's alright. Well, in the recording on my end, it's hilarious. So we're all good.
all right,
Alright, good.
we're making the
derailed,
most quality audio podcast ever right now.
but, you know, we do what we
By
can.
Those of
we
you
can do
on the audio can just, imagine it.
You know,
Yeah.
Theater of the mind.
when we actually decide to get our shit together, we might actually like structure this in a way where it's like, all right, if you come here to learn about a little bit of video game or entertainment history, like we're gonna hit you with that real quick, and then maybe end the podcast with more sillier stuff. But right now, it's just kind of like, sorry, you're gonna listen to us fuck around for about 15 minutes, and then we'll get to the serious stuff. Then we'll fuck around for another 15
That's the
minutes.
quality content I would be coming for.
Right.
And there will be a quiz at the end, so.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Wordness to the Nerdness Jeopardy will happen eventually when
Yeah.
we could play that. Because if we played, we'd be exposed for how much we don't know
True.
about our
very
own
true.
podcast.
That's true.
That's
Mhm.
very true. Yeah. I mean, I don't know much about any of you guys. I know I get fucking school.
Get blown up. Oh no.
Well, when we get a wiki page, that's when you know you've hit it.
That's true.
Mhm.
When
gotta-
wrong facts are on a page, but
Before
Exactly.
we get a wiki page, we have to get a web page anyway. So maybe we should start with
Baby
that.
steps, you know?
Little baby
Yeah,
steps.
baby steps.
So if any of you listeners out there or watchers now, you want to start, our wiki page, go ahead. Now's the time. Be the first one. Maybe make us a subreddit. I don't know.
You know,
Oh,
actually,
shit.
once we get our website up and going, I wonder if then like we're able to get Twitter verified. You know what I'm saying?
Dude, if we get Twitter verified, I don't care how many listeners. We made it. It's over.
That's it.
It's done.
we're done.
That's all we
that's,
needed.
that's last
That is the
episode.
pinnacle of social media, is getting verified.
hmm
Oh,
Yeah, we can
man.
pack up and quit.
Why don't I just draw a check mark on our logo and everyone will think that we have it? You know?
So funny story. As we continue to go on this derailed podcast, I one time with the Xbox, I was able to like change the name, and you're able to set up so you can put a check mark next to your name, and I was like playing it off as if I was like Xbox verified. I got so many freaking Xbox messages like, how did you get verified? Now can I get that? I ended up getting like an additional like 30 or 40 followers just from that alone. So
Oh,
that
shit.
check mark really does the trick. Once you get that verified on it, you're a big deal. You're a hot shot.
Damn.
That's crazy. I do remember that when you had that on there. I was like, what the hell? I didn't even know this was a thing.
Yeah. But, I think also I'd have to tweet from time to time. And I think I'll throw out a random tweet of a question that nobody responds to. And then I just retweet a bunch of stuff. And, yeah, that happens at like 10 o'clock in the morning. So that's all right.
That's funny.
That's all right. But you know what? We're not here to talk about today. Today, I don't even know what we're going to talk about because Sam did not post it for us to read.
I totally said, you just didn't remember.
This guy.
Oh, I was gonna say if we had something to follow, like a docket. That
Oh, that? No, I wasn't sharing it with anyone. I did it in Microsoft Word because I'm old-fashioned.
Oh, okay, there you go.
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
So this is kind of
And then I etched it in stone later.
I was gonna say, did you use a typewriter also?
Yeah, I got my stone block here. No, it's all. Ignore the symbol on that.
He carved it into like a polar bear skin. Like,
No.
Wait, so then I don't feel as bad though. That this actually is nerding out on insert text here.
It's a surprise for everyone.
All right, I'm gonna talk about Pandemic.
Pandemic.
Yeah.
Ooh. Money moves.
Who
on.
knows who they are?
pandemic.
Ooh.
We're here to learn, aren't we?
Ah, man.
I do a little bit, but just from what you said in chat.
Some
Made
good old
them up
Star
things.
Wars games, things like that.
Oh, yeah.
It was a favorite studio of mine, so we'll get there. But they're basically the studio behind the original Battlefront games, and
Oh, shit.
as you know, I'm a fan, just a little bit of those games. So,
Oh yeah. Every time like Battlefront had issues, it's like I'm just gonna go back and play the original Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Yep.
I go and complain and then kick and scream until I play the original Battlefront, and then I'm happy again.
Yeah.
I didn't even buy the second new Battlefront. I didn't even bother, man. It's depressing.
I don't think
But-
I did either, but it was like on sale for like what, $5 not too long ago.
Holy shit,
I think
really?
the
I bought the
price
first
Bad,
one.
bro. It's bad.
Damn.
I mean, I heard it's better, but like, I don't know.
Never.
I get all of them free on Origin, so I should play some of them.
You probably should.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Review it. Let us know.
Civilization's got me.
Yeah.
Don't worry, we're here for a good, depressing time.
Oh no.
So.
All right,
Let's
start
get
us off.
depressed. I'm ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not that
Let's do it.
depressing. It's kind of depressing. It's more depressing for me. I don't think you guys care too much.
Alexa, play
Of course I
Hawthorne.
do. Of course I do.
Yeah.
Alexa, off. I forgot I had it.
Oh, damn.
It hurts.
Alexa,
it hurts.
self-destruct.
That was actually pretty funny.
Did it work?
All right, boys.
All right.
Okay.
Let me
let's get
take
it,
you
sorry.
back to the year, the ripe year of 1999. Oh,
Ooh.
Oh man.
yeah. I was a young lad then. Couldn't hold the controller very well.
Don't say it, you're gonna make me feel old.
Do you want it?
Nope. Keep going.
All right, I'll keep going. I'll keep it quiet. It's fine.
All right.
All right, so Pandemic Studios was formed as an independent developer in '98
Uh-huh.
by President Josh Resnick and CEO Andrew Goldman, who are both former Activision employees, which formed an original team mostly of members from Activision titles, Battlezone and Dark Reign, two RTS type titles, because back in the 90s, RTSs were huge and every single game was an RTS pretty much, So,
When like
Is that
StarCraft?
like StarCraft?
Yeah. Was that like 98? Because StarCraft I remember was what really blew it up. For me,
StarCraft
I
was
remember
the one. Yeah,
remember
that was
the
the
year.
one.
on that.
Yeah.
Probably like
But
98.
everyone had an RTS. It was like the battle royale of its time,
Right.
Whoopee battle royale. it's the best example we got right now, right?
And
So
if you're listening to this, you probably know, but RTS is real-time strategy game. So
yeah, for youngsters.
for the youngins.
It was released in 1998.
19, say
So
that
yeah,
one.
but this company, so they formed and they were still so close with Activision that they actually ended up being formed with Activision's help, actually. They're created with an equity investment from Activision, as well as becoming the first publisher for their first two titles. So, surprise, surprise, the team that helped make Battlezone and Dark Reign made Battlezone 2 in December of 1999 and Dark Reign 2 in June 2000. So,
Yeah.
both games came out with middling success. So Battlezone 2 was kind of like a hybrid FPS tank shooter with RTS gameplay, right?
Uh-huh.
Wait,
kinda
that
had
actually
both.
sounds dope.
Yeah, so you could take control of like futuristic vehicles, units, things like that, in a large battle. And this becomes
I don't know
kind
if
of a
I remember playing
reoccurring
that.
thing with their games. Futuristic vehicles and vehicle gameplay
Yeah.
is something they did really well, and you'll see it more when we talk about more of their games later. But
Okay.
mhm. And then Dark Reign 2, which came out in June 2000, which is also an RTS game. And obviously these teams had experience with this. Most of the team were literally pulled from the studios that made these two games. So games released, didn't do that great. Sales were pretty low. Battlezone had a lot of bugs.
Hold on.
Bugs
Do you know,
that came right out the box.
real quick before
Yeah.
you continue, do you know what they released on? Was it PC?
Probably
or was
PC
it on-
mostly these.
Okay.
As it goes on, the rest of the titles will mostly be Xbox, PlayStation 2,
Okay.
and GameCube, some of them too. But
Yeah, I remember it took like a while for it to get console playable.
but these ones, mainly the RTS games, if you're going to be playing it, you might as well be playing on PC.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. Okay.
Makes sense.
Yeah, Dark Reign 2 specifically didn't do that good. It only sold 9,770 units in its first 2 months, and only brought in a revenue of about 443,000 USD. So it was a pretty rocky start for the company, and their relationship with Activision didn't really, keep publishing together for a while, and I think ever actually. So, But we move forward a couple years, 2 years to be exact, and things start looking up a little bit for the company. And so though their early games didn't do too well, they ended up opening up another studio in Australia. And this studio worked on a game called Army Men, another RTS. And if you guys know the Army Men series, you know the little green Army Men.
Yeah, is it
Army Men Sarge's Heroes?
It's not that one, but it's the same series with the Army Men, the toys, but they made an RTS for them in an Australia studio that they expanded to. And so it's interesting. They had a little side studio, and they both kind of worked together a little bit, but the main studio is in the U.S.
With all the like nostalgia stuff, I feel like that'd be an awesome real-time strategy game to bring back.
Right? Yeah, it did. Yeah, it did all right, you know. But the real big one, and the first one that really starts pushing the studio forward, is a little-known franchise called Star Wars.
I've heard of it.
Was in the middle of making a sequel to a prequel. Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of the Clones. And so Star Wars license was in full gear, right? At this point, Lucasfilms is ready to pump this stuff out. They're advertising like crazy. Well, LucasArts, who is their counterpart for publishing games and things like that, was looking to make more games to go along with the movie. So, because Pandemic had been working with those vehicle stuff from the past games they had come out with, they were impressed by that and ended up approaching them to make a Star Wars The Clone Wars game, which has no relation to the later animated series that came out under the same name.
Wait a minute.
And I actually played this game.
Is the Star Wars The Clone Wars game, that is the one, it was like third person or like over the shoulder? Or
Yeah. So it came out in 2002.
I played that on PlayStation.
Yeah, I played on PlayStation also. It came out on GameCube originally, and then later came out on PlayStation, I believe Xbox as well, after a little bit, yep.
Oh, okay. Now we're getting into familiar territory.
So this is where things start coming in. They start, things start happening. So the game was okay, got, decently good reviews, but nothing real great, about the 75% range, And I played the game. It's a fun game, but it's one of those games that, if you go back to, it's going to be super jank. And, it just wouldn't be very fun. But,
yeah,
for the time, it was pretty enjoyable. I remember playing it a lot with my cousin. And, yeah, it's basically half the game is vehicle gameplay, where you control a whole bunch of different Star Wars vehicles in these missions that basically, so it takes place after the Clone Wars movie, Attack on the Clones, and then kind of goes through the war after that. And you're taking control of vehicles, and then you have third-person sections where you play as like a Jedi or something like that for the other half.
Yeah.
And it's a little jank, it's not the best, but for its time, it wasn't half bad, and it was a pretty fun game.
I remember playing it, but I don't remember beating that game. But I think I enjoyed my time with it, from what I remember.
Yeah, it wasn't bad. Wasn't great either, but, from this, you start seeing the buildup of what they're going to be making later and how this translates over to the Battlefront series.
Yeah.
This big battles, this vehicle gameplay, and later on even using heroes in the second game.
Okay.
Yeah.
You get to play as Jar Jar? I mean, the best character.
Dark Sith Jar Jar.
Dude, if that happens, man, it'll be crazy. But we're getting off topic.
Someone had to bring it up.
We'll have a day to talk about Jar Jar the Sith Lord, right?
I can't wait.
Can we get a Jar Jar impression? Is anyone good at that?
No.
I
Misa,
just say
that's a no-no.
Nailed it.
Misa Jar Jar Binks.
You just say Misa and then something really stupid afterwards.
Misa hungry.
Misa in a bad movie.
Was there Robot Chicken that did that? Where he comes through the window and he's like, Ami, Ami! That's funny as hell.
Oh, it's so bad.
Misa hold polar bears hostage in Alaska.
Samson Biggs.
Hey man, all I'm saying is Jar Jar Binks, he was the reason, he helped the Emperor get in power, man. He gave that good speech and everything.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true.
Jar Jar Binks single-handedly ruined the Republic.
It was those eyes.
Behind it all.
It was those eyes.
So yes, we move forward a little. Another 2 years. We reached the year 2004.
Ooh.
Yay. And this is when things really start gearing up for the studio. And over these next 2 years, it's going to really solidify the studio pandemic and what kind of games they make, and they start really emerging as a AAA studio. And within these 2 years, they released 5 titles, which is crazy for one studio.
Damn.
Yeah.
You know? So,
Sure.
so in the early 2000s, we have the United States Army. And they're becoming interested in interactive media and how they can use it as a resource to train recruits. Right?
I like where this is going.
Mm-hmm. So here's a quote from an article I read on it all and everything. I believe it was just Wikipedia, but recognizing that a high percentage of incoming recruits had grown up using entertainment software products, there was interest in determining whether software game techniques and technology could complement and enhance established training methods. So, through this, they had connected with a couple partners, and one of those partners included Pandemic. So then that's pretty interesting. They had to decide how they were going to make the game and which console to put it on and things like that, right? So they wanted to use this game to train basically new recruits in fire team combat, and things like that, working together as a team and stuff like that, in a safe, interactive environment.
Right.
So they had to make a decision between Sony and Xbox, right? So as they're looking, they found out there's legal restrictions on the PlayStation for using the platform for military purposes. So they found that it was actually easier to use Xbox. But to do that, the Xbox, it's pretty interesting. But for a commercial release, had to be given for the game for them to allow them to use the Xbox platform. So what ended up happening is they created Full Spectrum Warrior, right? So that's the game that it became. But there's 2 different versions of the game. There's the actual military version, right? That was used for the army and learning. And then there was an entertainment version, which could be played, and they gave out, as the normal copy to everyone if you wanted to play the game.
But they were both called Full Spectrum Warrior, or it was like Full Spectrum Warrior and then this other one was just...
Well, here's the thing. The copy of Full Spectrum Warrior you have, you could put in a special code in the game, an unlock code, right?
Yeah.
And through this unlock code, you could play the actual military version, the more realistic version.
Dude, this is mind-blowing right now.
Weird. I didn't know
Videos
that.
on YouTube that you can find of this, people doing that, because I have to watch this now. That's crazy.
Yeah, you can probably definitely find stuff about it.
Holy
It's
crap.
really interesting.
Training soldiers for lightsaber combat and stuff.
Right? It's crazy an idea. You'd never heard of this, right? And
Well, I figured
the fact that there's 2 different
Hey,
versions.
that's sick.
I was
But
gonna
yeah,
say,
the army didn't want the commercial version because a lot of the stuff, the things and stuff for the commercial version doesn't really fit what the army actually wants, like what it's actually like. It's more for fun.
right.
But the army version is much more realistic and, serious, and like you actually have to really organize and, plot and have a lot of strategy behind it as well.
That's wild.
And the weird part about the game is it's actually a third-person shooter, and first-person actions are actually only limited to giving orders and directions to your fire team members with your little like pad you have, and you do stuff like that.
Wait,
So it's
hold on. You're saying you don't shoot in the game, or you do?
you do shoot and everything.
Oh,
It's a shooter, but the game is primarily third person.
Oh,
Yeah, which is really weird.
Choice.
Yeah, the only first person stuff you do is like just actual things, like like looking at your map and stuff like that.
yeah. Damn,
It's
this is crazy.
It's strange. Yeah.
Oh,
Damn.
sorry.
What year was this again? That's
This is
just about.
Like 2000.
Imagine going to war.
2003 is when the military version kind of started going, but 2004 was the full release for the game.
Yeah.
Damn, that's crazy. I had no idea.
Yeah. Well, there's probably a reason, but it's interesting, right? But probably the main reason you didn't hear about it is a a little game, that you may have heard of. Bum, bada bum, bada bum,
Halo
bum, bum,
2?
bum, bum. No. Star Wars Battlefront came out the same year.
Oh, shit.
So, yeah. When that comes out, you kind of heard about that instead of Full Spectrum Warrior. They both were successful titles.
Right.
Both did well. They ended up making a sequel to Full Spectrum Warrior later on, but we'll talk about that.
Well, but hold
That's
on.
crazy.
But this game was financed by the military, though, right?
Military, yeah.
Yeah, they financed it, so it was probably no harm, no foul for them. Whatsoever. I mean, it really was made to serve one purpose, and it served that purpose, but they had to.
I mean, it was technically published by THQ, but the idea was for the military. Yeah, the military were the ones who originally wanted it.
Yeah.
But they had to come with a full release to use the Xbox software or hardware.
Okay, so on this gets interesting.
But that doesn't
too.
make sense, though.
So, but it's published by them, but it was probably funded by the military because they wanted that.
Mm-hmm.
But do the proceeds of it go back to the military then, or did THQ get that revenue for the game?
That's a good question. I do not know.
Maybe it's like a shareholders type thing.
I believe most of it.
I'm gonna call the general quick.
Because think about it, if that was a good application, the military was willing to do that, you would think that game developers would be wanting to make more military games because they could make the game and then it's funded by the military, but they still get the revenue. Because the military,
right, but then you have to be in like military spec of what they want. You can't make your own game.
right? But it wouldn't matter how well it's sold because the making of it is literally funded by the military. So then, just every one copy, that's a profit.
Right. But like, how many military sims are they gonna buy? Like, they only need Arma 3 once.
But they're funding the development of the game. But that's what I'm saying.
I get what you're saying, too.
Oh, okay.
No, I understand. But it's like, do you want to play Arma 3?
You gotta go play it.
Like, they only need one. They're not going to be like, oh, yeah.
Okay.
Well, the thing
Minecraft is actually...
The thing is, the army really didn't end up using it much in the end because it wasn't realistic enough.
They're just in the desert, like, throwing the fishing lure into one square of water.
It's like, fuck, I'm so dehydrated. If I only had a block of water.
They dig 2 holes and like pour their water into both sides. Unlimited water. It's like unlimited water.
Dude, I gave this cow so much wheat. Why is it getting bigger? I literally gave this calf like a whole bale of wheat. Why isn't he full size yet?
But that's the thing, the army ended up not really using the training version at all. Because it wasn't realistic enough.
Oh, I thought you were going to say they were too busy playing Battlefront.
So the army pretty much lost money on the deal.
Yeah. Maybe that's
I was too busy playing Battlefront. Yeah, I didn't mess with this.
That's funny.
But it's weird, right? Like, it's such a strange thing. Like,
well, it makes sense. You're not supposed to run like custom stuff or like, I don't know, whatever on a console. So yeah.
Well, I feel like Drone Simulator was a game that they made. Maybe that was also something military funded that they would use that people use when they're controlling their drones and flying around, because that's a lot of
and they have flight simulators and things like that, but those are very professional made and don't usually see a commercial release like this one did. So
I heard Goat Simulator was also
a lot of controversy and things came out afterwards of people thinking like, did they take advantage of the military or something like that, like Pandemic practically tricked.
Yeah. No, that's all.
But it's weird, man, right? Like it's a strange story.
That's really weird.
That's cool.
So military made a game. Then what? Then what happened with Pandemic?
Then Battlefront came out.
Yeah,
dude.
that same year, Star Wars Battlefront dropped on September 21st.
Dude, that was like a solid year of my childhood. Takes me.
Wait, are you saying that Pandemic made both?
1 and 2.
But that military game too?
Yeah.
That's a lot of work that
in the same year.
In the same
Holy
year.
shit.
Well, it gets crazier. So we talk about Battlefront and just more and more games pumping out. It's insane how they do it. But so Battlefront 2 came out, or Battlefront 1 came out later that year, bringing the ability to take large-scale Star Wars battles from the old and new series, playing as either clones, droids, Empire, or Rebels. And then, although it wasn't a perfect game, it had some issues. The AI was wonky. The campaign was so-so, had some problems. But it brought what fans really wanted, and that was to be fully immersed in a Star Wars story, in the game. Just fight in a big war.
Oh, hell yeah.
Random droid, or you'd be a clone, be a part of the Empire, be a rebel, anything you want, Stormtrooper. It's just fun,
As a kid, that game nailed it. Like, you actually felt like it was a huge scale war. Like, it was dope.
I put so many countless hours into that game. I don't even want to know how much.
I put more. So.
I'm literally trying to wrap my head around thinking if I actually, did play that game, because I just honestly don't remember.
Oh man,
I don't think I did.
That game was.
I just don't remember playing it.
So good. So
I think I was playing Halo still.
That's like one of the only games too that I actually enjoyed, like vehicles being in a infantry style game too.
Yeah, and that was a big part of the game, because they had worked on that in all their other games.
Yep.
Half of it was vehicle combat, and the thing that made these games so great is they have some of the best vehicle combat of any game still to date, in my opinion.
Yep.
The only one that really did it just as good as, I would say, the first 3 Halo games in Reach,
Well, wait, when did Pandemic make pod racing, the pod racing game?
Now this is pod racing.
They were not responsible for the pod racing game.
I actually like that game. I played the shit out of that game.
Yeah. I did play quite a bit of it.
I enjoyed that one. That was good.
Now this is pod racing.
But yes, Battlefront came out to generally positive reviews, in the 8+ area. It was probably the biggest and fastest commercial success for LucasArts at the time of any game they had put out.
Now,
the game went on
who is LucasArts in relation to Pandemic?
So Lucasfilms, George Lucas, were the people that were making all the Star Wars films at the time, right? Because he still owned the rights to Star Wars, right? So Lucasfilms had a subsidiary called LucasArts. It used to be Lucasfilms Games, but then they changed it to LucasArts. Basically, LucasArts at the time, before Disney, published all Star Wars video games, right?
Oh, shit.
I don't think it was just Star Wars either. I think LucasArts actually published
No, they published other things. There's actually like
the Lion
King.
King
A fighting game or something?
I think a lot of the Disney games were like Aladdin, Lion King, Jungle Book. I think a few, I could be wrong, but I think for sure the Lion King game was a LucasArts game.
Yeah, they did a lot of things, but like Star Wars was being, I believe later on actually.
So like LucasArts contracts Pandemic to make the game?
Pretty much.
Yes.
Or they like bought the license from Lucas?
They're a publisher. Yeah, they published it and then gave them the license because so a later game that was successful that they came out with next year was Mercenaries, and that was also published by LucasArts.
Oh yeah, I remember that one.
Mm-hmm.
That was,
I don't remember
a campaign for that.
Yeah, and we'll get more into that too. But
okay, I definitely.
So,
LucasArts did not publish Lion King. So keep talking. Sorry,
I was about to say that sounds like some crazy talk, but I'm just gonna let you go.
Just keep going. Everything. I'll redeem myself.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Power through.
All right. Well, the game did pretty well. Went on to sell 3.8 million copies by July of 2006. By 2007, it had sold 4 million copies. Now, this is especially, pretty good, considering the second game came out a year later.
Damn.
Oh, snap.
To go along with the movie, Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith. Yay!
Makes sense.
Yeah.
The prequel's finished.
Talk about crunch. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, I know what you're saying.
I don't know, man.
That's a lot of crunch.
Obviously, they had that other studio as well in Australia, but
Still, it's a big
5
task.
games in 2 years. That's a lot.
That is a ton.
For
That is a
real.
ton.
Insane.
Reminds me of myself. Overachieving like that.
But Battlefront 2 essentially took all the things that people really liked about Battlefront 1, added a much better single-player campaign, the ability to play as heroes, so you can play as the Jedis finally and go out there in the battle and basically just wipe the floor with everyone.
Yeah, that's what.
And then more AI adjustments, better vehicles, everything from the original games. Obviously, it still just had limitations at the time, frame rate issues. There were struggles online. It was kind of laggy at the time. Just about any game that online was.
Of course, yeah. No, it was like the Wild West then.
Especially a game like that where it's just like so many people at the same time all fighting.
For real.
I just want to real quick just interject and say that I was 100% full of shit. And it's all Star Wars game, but then there's also a bunch of like weird stuff in here as well. Like Monkey Island and
that's right.
Some game called Day of the Tentacle that was made.
Yes, I played that.
Don't sleep on Day of the Tentacle, bro. That game was my childhood.
Yep. Sorry about that. Sorry for my nonsense. Cool. And
Lucasfilms and LucasArts. It's a strange world, man.
Yeah.
But now Disney owns it, so woo!
Yay, Disney Plus.
Yeah.
We're in good hands.
I guess. Oh man. So, but Battlefront 2 went on. It's probably one of my top 5 most favorite games of all time. I played that so much as a kid, like just playing Star Wars battles. You could go on the Death Star and just shoot everyone up. It was amazing.
Hey,
I remember there was like a temple level or some shit.
Yeah,
dude, I was lit.
Since I went this rabbit hole, we're still on pandemic, I call it Day of the Tentacle. This game's got a 10 out of 10 on Steam. Google users say it's 95% liked.
I told you, don't sleep on Day of the Tentacle.
It was free on Xbox Live or something like years ago. I have it in my catalog. I
have to know what do you do in this game? Because I'm getting all the wrong thoughts. My brain's been all desensitized.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's like a point and click.
I hope it's not Japanese.
It's like a point and click, like Secret of Monkey Island. No, it's not.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess there's a remaster out and all this
Point
stuff.
And click? Yeah.
It's like Curse of Monkey
I know
Island
of a few point and click games that, go pretty dark.
Yeah, we're gonna get derailed if I go down this rabbit hole. So let's
I think it's a funny. It's supposed to be funny.
We'll follow up with this after we're done.
Oh no. Okay.
Oh, man. Okay.
But yeah, back to Battlefront 2. People really like that game. It's a beloved title by a lot. Has a very serious following for back in the day, and there's a lot of people who kept that game alive way past even Pandemic's death. And
it's still alive today. You can play it on Origin. It's dope.
It's crazy, man. It's a great game. And so that game went on to sell 6 million copies by 2007, compared to Battlefront 1's 4 million copies by 2007. But still, just to sell 4 million copies so that's only 2 million less than the second game that came out a year later. That's huge. Everyone who owned these games had
right with the movie too.
Because I feel like people weren't buying games as quickly back then, but maybe I'm wrong. Because and maybe that's just like my mindset as a kid growing up. Like I would get like a new game every few months, and then occasionally I'd go rent a game. But
Blockbuster is like our best friend.
Playing a new game every single week, like I am now, kind of.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you beat up the kids at school Monday through Friday, and then you go to Blockbuster on Friday with their money.
With all that money. That milk money, kid.
That's right. Give me that Star Wars money.
Oh, you say you bought your lunch today? Let me get that. Let's sell that.
So, Pandemic, that same year, before Battlefront 2, they also released 2 games. Mercenaries: Playground of Destruction in January, which was very popular, got good reviews, sold well.
Okay.
And then a game that I'm also very close and dear to my heart and is getting a remaster soon, which is amazing and crazy that's happening. Destroy All Humans, which came out in June of 2005.
Listeners,
vaguely
next
remember
week are gonna
that.
be in for a treat if you like Destroy All Humans. So.
Oh, snap.
Oh. Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
Sorry,
I've never played that.
Is that something close to your heart too, Gro?
No, it's not. I was gonna not spoil it, but I am. But next week we're gonna be talking about THQ Nordic and the black magic that company has going on over there, up to how they have so much money. So.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm gonna enjoy that game a lot. I still have my PS2 copy 20 feet away from me right now in a box full of 50 PS2 games. So.
Hey, you should sell that collection stuff.
No, that is mine, and I'm keeping that. You can get out of here.
Fine.
But
I feel like there's a
sad
butt
times
coming up.
Sad times have to come eventually.
Oh.
Be all happy. So, you guys have heard of BioWare, right?
Dude,
Bring
if you
out
would've
your
told me this,
dead.
I would have just put in the audio clip.
I'm gonna do it myself because
Post.
that way you can't expect it. I just throw it in. It sounds awful, and it's all my fault, and I love it. That's what I want.
No.
Yeah, you guys heard of BioWare, right?
Yeah, I've heard of that company.
Yeah, they made some things.
Yeah, a couple things have happened with them recently. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, did you know?
I can't wait till Anthem comes out.
Yeah, they haven't made it a real game yet. They're still waiting. It's in early access, right?
Yeah.
I think we mention it every.
Dude, when I read, I had totally forgot this. So when I read it, I'm like, oh my god, we can't get away from BioWare. They're following us, bro.
Oh my god.
So in November of 2005, it was announced that Pandemic and BioWare would be joining forces with a private equity fund, Elevation Partners, investing in the partnership. Both companies retained their brands and identities. On October 11th, 2007, it was announced that VG Holding Corp., the owners of BioWare and Pandemic Studios, would be acquired by Electronic Arts.
Now you play the bells down.
As of January 2008.
Dun.
So sad.
Here it is.
Well, there's I think we still got the giggles. Of course, it's never good. Even though this is 2008, and I'm sure all these people have landed on their feet or got some going on now. We still got companies shutting down all the time. So we weren't laughing that the company shut down. We just have a bad case of the giggles right now.
Yeah.
You guys are the worst.
Thank you.
This is a very touchy and emotional subject for me, and you guys are just laughing in my face.
Oh man, it's all right. I mean,
It happens.
This means a lot to me.
If you got enough stones to hold polar bears hostage, I'm sure you could handle this, buddy.
I heard Sam said fire to a polar bear. It's really hard to do.
If to get your microtransactions, more. What did I say? How did he put it? More predatory in games. You have to go to Alaska and set the whole state on fire. I figure that there's not much that you won't do, Sam.
You guys are the worst. I just want you to know. I didn't even see a polar bear, bro.
Always.
I wish that would have been cool.
I think that's also the shocker, right? I just know it's like I love you, and then always.
I think that's the shocker.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. That's the
Shaka, bruh.
Shaka,
Yeah,
bruh.
two
Best audio
Why can't I do my
podcast.
hands- my
Making
hands?
hand signals in the camera.
That's it. Yeah, he knows that.
For those of you listening on audio, you can see the top of Sean's hat right now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I was just loading up a good clip for you.
Mm-hmm.
What did she say?
Wait. No, we're gonna get
Demonetized.
We're gonna demonetize, bro. YouTube's coming for it.
They're gonna kill us.
I think
Remix.
Post. Don't worry. It's fine.
Close.
yeah.
So, yeah, big bad EA Electronic Arts has arrived on this. They're gobbling up studios left and right. They're buying whoever they can, and their next victim and soon to be other victim is BioWare and Pandemic.
Damn.
Dun, dun,
So,
What you say?
yeah, hard time. So, in this time, the new EA era, Pandemic would go on to release 5 more games. Most of these games are sequels. They ended up having mixed reviews and not as much success as other titles. They came out with another Full Spectrum Warrior,
Right.
10 Hammers, Destroy All Humans 2, which was okay, but not as good as the first.
Right.
Mercenaries 2, which is okay. I don't know. And then Lord of the Rings Conquest, which I didn't even know existed.
And this would have
what was
been
that?
so if they were purchased in 2008 and all these games came afterwards. This was after
Well,
Horse
so
Armor, and so DLC
with 2000,
maybe.
Full Spectrum Warrior and Destroy All Humans 2 came out in the kind of BioWare time.
Mm-hmm.
And then Mercenaries 2 and Lord of the Rings, and then their later Swan Song that came after they had already been announced to be dead, the Saboteur, came out in the EA times.
Well, and then on top of that, you had, I mean, because around this time, if we're talking like 2008 on, like Call of Duty took the reins after this to be like the primary game. Everyone was shooting each other.
Game's hot right now.
And fucking each other's moms. And then,
We're in the PS3 360 era. Things are different.
yeah. And
A lot more
not
competitive.
shortly after that, I want to say 2010, we get like some Mass Effect, Skyrim in 2011. So there's a bunch of games that started like taking over after that point that like just became the big deals. And
Mm-hmm.
so, it
So,
sounds like
yeah.
BioWare I did fine then with that.
So once they once they had combined with BioWare, things start going downhill for them. The games just aren't getting as good of reviews, good feedback, not selling as well, and it's a mixture of things. It seems like high, lofty goals, like any studio have, kind of hurt. EA trying to rush things out the door for certain things, big publishers, things like that. It just started not working out. So, fast forward us to February 2009 from their office. So their office in Australia was shut down that day. And then in November of 2009, EA cut a total of 1,500 jobs, which affected various studios, including shutting down of Pandemic. On November 17th, 2009, EA officially confirmed Pandemic Studios' closure, laying off 228 employees.
Oh,
And then
additional
EA went on.
1,500?
So the 1,500 was amongst a various amount of studios, but the specific ones from Pandemic, when Pandemic closed, was 220. They absorbed, including the CEO and founders.
Yeah. And it sounds like this was also during the
shit.
recession as well.
Yes, things. EA had bought a ton of stuff at the time.
Yeah.
And there was a long line of studios, and it's still happening now that EA has killed off as time has gone on. And they just bought a lot and then killed a lot.
What year was it that they did all this again?
2009.
This is 2009.
Well, that makes sense because 08 was when like the housing market took a wild dump,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
amongst other things. Damn.
Yeah.
It
Makes
sounds like a pandemic.
Too soon. Too soon.
It hurts, man. It hurts my soul right now. So, yeah. EA went on to absorb a whole 35 Pandemic employees into EA Los Angeles studio. And then they gave support for their last project, The Saboteur, which ended up coming out later. And they had 3 other projects that ended up getting canceled.
Getting canned.
Yeah.
Did they have names, or were they all just under
Well, one was a very expensive and worked on. They had gotten into development on it. A Batman: The Dark Knight game based on the movies.
Oh shit!
Interesting.
Yeah. As well as another sequel to the Mercenaries series, Mercenaries 3. And then the next big thing / No Limits Racing, which is a game I know nothing about, and it didn't look that interesting from what I saw. But hey, someone was probably excited for it.
No limit.
Well, I'm curious, and maybe we'd have to dig more into that. But if you say in there, like one of the projects that Pandemic was going to tackle was going to be that Dark Knight game, I wonder if some of the people that left there went over to, was it Rocksteady to make because not long after that was Arkham Asylum or whatever that first one, because that came out in 2010.
A lot of there may have been some.
Yeah.
But a lot of the employees actually ended up at 4-3.
343?
A lot of them ended up at 343 and worked on Master Chief, or not Master Chief Collection, the
Halo 4 or
Reach.
Halo 4 and Combat Evolved remastered.
Yeah, I was going to say, the CE and then
which
2
was a fantastic game.
Mm-hmm.
Damn, that's pretty interesting. There's a lot that went on with them, and that's too bad.
Want to hear some depressing EA quote?
Quote? Yeah.
Yeah, EA quote.
Let's hear it.
Always.
All right, I got some
Give us
stuff.
a couple.
That's how I start my morning.
I got more. Don't worry, I'm not totally done yet.
Right.
So this is a couple of so this is from the Kotaku article that came out pretty much right when it actually happened. But yeah, it's rough times, bro. But I want to make it clear that the Pandemic branded franchises will live on. Nick Earl, EA Games label senior vice president said. In the months ahead, we will announce plans for new games based on Pandemic franchise. This type of change can be difficult, but the situation calls for us to act decisively. Take control of our destiny and to run a stronger, more focused development operation. That's how we will continue to make great games in our LA studios.
Oh my god.
Earl said that the move was made to improve our cost structure, ensure quality, and build schedule integrity for this studio.
All the corporate speak, make it stop.
EA confirmed that about 200 people were let go, which I already went over.
Yeah.
Please tell me there's a quote with synergy in it.
I was just going to say.
Hey, who wrote this article out of curiosity? Is it Jason Schreier? What's he?
Oh man, it's an old one. I don't know.
Doesn't Jason Schreier write everything that anybody talks
anytime
about?
I hear any like big gaming news article.
No, it wasn't Jason Schreier.
Okay.
But
well.
Yeah. So after the purchase, Pandemic released a succession of lackluster sequels, culminating in the cancellation of the costly Dark Knight game, which resulted in the closure of Pandemic's Brisbane studio. So that was the Australian studio. And yeah, so it was a part of.
I wonder how it is over there. Like, I know in America, I feel like you get bounced around if you're a developer. I mean, you're working for a game studio. If you get fired, the next place hires you or something. But
Yeah.
I wonder how it is in Australia.
It seems like, and even now that like with video game development, there's enough burnout that there's always jobs needed. So even though people lose their jobs, and this would be an interesting thing to hear about because a lot of times I don't know. It doesn't have to just be in the video game industry. I mean, if you're a program developer, you can end up in many different avenues.
Right.
In the video game industry. But I wonder how quickly like they'll learn fee, because I feel like a layoff is something that you need to expect working on at a video game industry or video game publisher,
for sure.
developer. So that, and maybe they keep that in the back of their mind to where they're working but also saving money enough to where if they get laid off, which even if they're good at their job is very likely, then other jobs that they'll be like, okay, I got a couple months, but then I'll be here. My problem is like there's so many studios that are all over the place that it might be like if a company lays off or shuts down a studio in an area, there's probably not enough room for everyone there to go. A lot of people might have to move, so that's hard on families and stuff. Yeah, damn, that just sucks.
Yeah, I mean, and what's so crazy about this? I mean, obviously we're seeing what's happening with BioWare now and how they've been a much slower, sad, depressing decline. Where this ended, EA managed to close down this studio in less than 2 years. A studio that was looking really bright, pumping out AAA titles like crazy, and like was becoming regarded as a lot of people's favorite studio, you know?
Yeah.
And just
that EA curse.
and I think the favorite part is that quote that I mentioned. The whole, oh, we'll be coming out with more pandemic titles and things like that using the franchises they took from them. Want to know the first series that ended up actually coming out from this line of pandemic titles they're going to continue?
Was it Battlefront?
Battlefield.
Not Battlefield. They never owned Battlefield.
But it was
It
Battlefront?
was Star Wars Battlefront with DICE in 2015. That was their first one.
I knew it was something DICE.
Maybe it was a conspiracy theory too. Maybe like that was born to fail because of how they treated the pandemic.
Oh yeah, man. I felt it was almost justice.
It was spawned from greed, and because of that, you know, they got punished. You know.
I mean, just the Battlefront story in general is even more interesting. Because there had been Battlefront 3's plan. I believe there was about like 4 or 5 legit canceled sequels to the game.
Right.
Oh,
That
man.
just never happened.
That was the whole loot box scandal and the
We had okay, ready for this?
accomplishment.
I got a list right here of canceled Battlefront games under Star Wars Battlefront 3 that was being made by Free Radical. I think you guys may have heard of them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. They canceled that one, which some gameplay footage and stuff, and developer or something from put out a bunch of gameplay footage and things he probably was supposed to of the game.
Right.
And it looked really cool. It had actual like on ground up to flying like into space battle mid game stuff like that.
Oh,
Some really
shit.
cool and interesting
That's
cutscenes and stuff.
ambitious.
There was a lot going on with that, and and it was a nearly finished game. It just needed a bit more polish, and it's still so insane and like confusing how that game got canceled. And a build for it actually ended up getting leaked in 2016 later on.
Oh, shit.
Reddit. Yeah.
I wonder if someone would finish it, like if it was that, like a little fun
Well,
project.
The problem with it is like they probably could if it was any other game, like an original game, like someone could go in and probably finish it, and Pandemic would be like, yeah, cool, do what you want to do. But because
If
it's
it was
Star
like a very
Wars,
dead
like you
studio or
just can't, like it's because of those assets, and now especially with Disney, they will never ever let any of that stuff go.
Yeah.
It's kind of like
Disney would,
I
like,
mean, it's
swat
totally-
your house,
like
like
Nintendo.
they're actually, yeah.
when people try and make these like Nintendo games of, like just passion projects give away for free, Nintendo jumps in real quick to shut that shit down.
I just find it so strange that like Pandemic didn't really jump on to be making Battlefront, because it was in 2006 when it was like the first rumors of people working on Battlefront 3 started coming out. It's like it is really weird.
Well,
Could have been like too many people
but
like
if you
fell
have
off.
Battlefront 2 made, it's kind of like another sequel is expected. So it's like even before Battlefront 2 released and all the hype going around it, people are going to also assume that
Oh, for sure. I just find it strange that Pandemic wasn't the studio involved in, creating that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You would think that they consult them at least, yeah.
Well, but it also, if you think about it though, if it's the
But that's
same
also the same
cycle-
time they merged with.
Well, yeah, because I was gonna say, I mean,
Right.
look at like Activision with their Call of Duty games. They're all developed by like. There's a rotation of 3 studios. I guess.
Oh, I
now
know.
2
It's
studios.
just strange
but-
how it happened like that. Like, because they weren't in an in-house studio together with them.
Yeah.
And it happened bing bang because like Battlefront 1 and 2 came out within years of each other. Which is
So the more and more we talk about this, I'm kind of thinking like we could go down a rabbit hole of other things too, because I feel like this would be.
oh yeah.
Like
This is
I
very
want to talk
general.
about a crunch too, because if that's what they were doing, I have a feeling that like the time frame that they're wanting to develop these games, like if it was supposed to be year after year after year, at that point, games are getting more complicated, especially if you're like 2008 era with all this 3D graphic.
You can't get away with that as much.
It's just too hard, and so maybe.
I mean, obviously, these games all released at the same time.
On it, yeah.
But I mean, like Destroy All Humans had been, I believe, close to around 2003. They had started really putting together stuff for it and things like that. Yeah. So it wasn't like all these just came out, you know, and they made them within that year, you know? Possibly Battlefront 2, but
right.
It was a little bit more spread out on a few. Like, a lot of these games had been building up, and then they all just came at the same time. But it is interesting. There probably was garbage, and I think that's not totally... I mean, obviously EA had a lot to do with it, but it's not totally EA's fault. It's obvious the studio had really huge expectations and huge ideas that in their later titles you see they kind of start fumbling over themselves when they don't have the complete freedom with EA breathing down their neck to get these things out, you know?
Yeah.
So that culture combined with a larger corporate structure kind of just caved the whole thing in within a couple years.
Yeah.
For sure. We've seen it over and over again.
Well, I wonder if they went with EA because they needed it, kind of thing. Or...
Well, it was the parent company that owned them and BioWare. Let them buy them out. I mean, well, originally when they got bought out, they were saying like it's a good thing they found that financial stability they're looking for, that every studio is looking for.
Yeah.
Because when you get bought out by a big publisher like this, it does feel good because you have that stability, you feel safer. But along with that comes the structure and the timelines and things that sometimes can restrict the creativity of certain studios. And in Pandemic's case, it really did restrict them.
You're exactly right, because like the longer these guys spend on a game, like the research and development and all that stuff for paying it, a lot of times these companies, like the project can get so big that like they're literally like, if this game flops, I have to shut down the studio and fire all these people. So it's better off to be like, to get bought out, so then these companies get them, so that even if the game is not a huge success, then you'll still have like the backing that everyone will still keep their job. And that's like a gamble, because it really, like, a lot of times, like, no one really knows what games are gonna be like the ones that break through and become a huge success, you know?
Right.
Like a lot of indie games like Shovel Knight, Hollow Knight, Stardew Valley, like no one knew that those games were going to be the huge success that they were. So it's like you operate as a small team and do stuff, you know, whereas like Anthem, if let's say BioWare was like on their own and then they had Mass Effect Andromeda, and it's like, okay, we're big enough that we have enough capital to move on. But then after Anthem, like they would have shut down if it was just BioWare. Just,
right.
Yeah, it would have been over.
It. Yeah.
But now Anthem's supporting everybody else because it's doing so well.
But I mean, yeah, it's interesting and that's kind of how it goes, and you see that with them trying to release that Batman game too. Like, they come out with a few sequels to their flagship franchises, pretty much, and they don't do that good. And EA's looking at that, and that's not good. And then they're spending a lot of money on this Batman game, and things aren't coming together the way EA wants them to, and.
No horse.
That combined with economic troubles at the time and EA overextending themselves by buying so many studios, it was a recipe for disaster, you know?
Yeah. Well,
damn.
That was good on the pandemic. Do you guys want to do a couple questions before we
I do have a little bit more we can talk about. I just want to talk about where everyone is today, you know?
Okay. All right, hit us with
So, where they are now. So basically, a lot of the developers, a large chunk of them, are now employed at 343 Industries, having worked on Combat Evolved Anniversary, Halo 4, like we said.
Right.
Other employees ended up at Infinity Ward, Treyarch, Respawn, right?
Yeah.
Because Infinity Ward around this time also split up and then became Respawn, and then Blendo Games, and then a couple other studios, you know, just smaller here and there. Josh Resnick, the co-founder, you know, along with Andrew Goldman, he went on to become the CEO of luxury candy boutique Sugar Fina.
What?
What?
Where?
And he runs it with his wife.
He pivoted there.
Yeah.
I bet they are good at whatever they do, or
Yeah.
that thing.
And Andrew Goldman's done a couple things, but he's now the co-founder and CEO of Writable
Sachs?
Incorporated. Yeah, Goldman Writable Incorporated, which I know nothing about.
Writable.
Oh man.
Oh yeah, I also want to read off the long list of canceled Battlefront sequels.
Did
So we-
you not?
No, I only read one,
okay.
then we started talking Free Radical. So Battlefront 3 with Free Radical, Star Wars Battlefront Online, Star Wars First Assault and Version 2, Star Wars Battlefront, I believe 4, which had, been supposed to be a sequel to 3 if it had ever come out.
Yeah.
Concepts for that. And then some handheld and mobile games. Star Wars Battlefront Renegade Squadron. Oh, well, that actually came out. So there were some mobile games that came out.
That's a mobile one?
And then Elite Squadron. So yeah, these are handheld games that actually did end up coming out later.
Damn.
And then they actually do have a mobile game too, but by THQ Wireless actually.
Oh, shit.
Released in 2009. I know nothing about that, but
THQ
apparently
Wireless?
it still has a community. Yeah. It just gets weirder and weirder, right? I don't know.
I thought you were going to say Republic Commando 2.
So yeah, there's a mobile Star Wars Battlefront game, but that's pretty much,
Damn.
gone too. So
they had
Crazy
big plans.
stuff. Crazy stuff.
but yeah, that's the story of Pandemic, man.
Dude, I think we covered it pretty well. I think you got all of the notes with that.
I did the best I could. First
You did
try.
Good job. Yeah,
Thank you.
The sound effects and everything.
I do have a couple.
Yeah,
I do have a
yeah.
couple questions though.
All right, let's get it.
Alright.
So let me get
What'd you
this
print?
out.
How long have we been going? Hour 5? Perfect.
All right, so our first question comes in by Nathan. So it's the same thing as me. He says, "Hey guys, how you doing? Love the show. Good stuff. Keep up with the good work. Question for you guys: do you like pasta? Because I love pasta, but I'm curious, what pasta do you guys like? My favorite's spaghetti. What about you? Sean, you want to go first?"
Dude, pasta
got
is
so
for
mad that he-
just... Oof.
Pasta's what? Say that
Man.
again. Sorry, louder in the mic, please.
Yeah.
Pasta is great.
Oh,
You like eating shit.
But what's your favorite?
Yeah, what's your favorite?
My favorite pasta is... what's the... Like tortellinis. Whatever, the little pasta buttholes.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Pasta butthole.
So
I want to
pasta
order that at an Italian restaurant. Yes, can I
Pasta
get the
buttholes
pasta
is your
buttholes
favorite.
with Alfredo's?
That's not
Yeah.
what you said in the
Those are-
Discord. Damn it,
You know what? Maybe lasagna. I take it back. But anyway, pasta is fucking gross. I hate pasta.
dude. I can't. I've never heard anyone
Dude,
that said
that's
pasta's gross.
insane.
No, okay. Here's the clarification. I never seek out pasta. Like I'm never like, oh, I can't wait. I want like a penne dish or something. You know,
So
like,
what
I
do you
never
get when
want
you go
pasta.
to Olive Garden?
If I were to go, I'd probably get. What do they even have?
Don't act like you didn't go there.
fried cheese or chicken?
Don't act.
If you can think of a pasta name, it's probably there. Sean.
I don't want pasta. It's such a waste of calories. Just eat something good.
Oh my god.
What if the pasta's made out of vegetables?
The only time that I really want pasta is like if you make it fresh, handmade. And I'm not a pasta snob. I'm just saying, like that's.
It's you pretty much
You're
described
kind
the
of a
pasta.
pasta snob.
You basically just pasta.
Like I didn't even know the definition, but now I do. Thank you.
Oh, man.
Dude, like I would
That's
never
insane.
just like be like, let me just boil up some spaghetti and put some sauce on it. Like that's
Really?
Did you like not go to
I would
college?
never do
Like,
that.
That's so easy. It's so good. Like it's such a
Like
damn good meal to
ramen.
make. You just get some hamburger, you put some sauce in there, make meat
no,
sauce.
dude.
What?
macaroni and cheese.
You get the Parmesan
Macaroni and
cheese, you just
cheese,
pour
yeah.
it all over.
But
So you
macaroni
do
and
like
cheese is like
pasta?
a different class. Like
It's not
Pasta.
it's pasta.
It's
Macaroni and cheese
pasta
is
or it's
pasta.
not. Bro.
It's literally
but see,
pasta.
like I would never be like, oh, I'm starving. Let me have macaroni and cheese.
What?
Why?
I would say that, yeah.
It gets even weirder because I'm the same way with pizza. Like I never want pizza.
What?
Like it's never like, yo, let's go get pizza. Like I
But
don't.
when you do, you get pineapple pizza, right? That's the way. So.
This whole episode's triggering me.
I think we should cut out the whole thing about pandemic and just have an hour long about why you should like pasta.
Why you should like pasta?
Okay, if you guys can like honestly tell me that if you came home after a long day at work and you were like, "What can I have for dinner?" and your first thought was pasta, like,
Yeah.
Yes.
you're lying.
That
Yes.
happened to me.
I mean,
You're lying.
I know, yeah.
It's
I could
easy
really
as
go
fuck
for
meal.
spaghetti
Never
right
happened.
And it doesn't even have to be hot pasta. You can have like pasta salad, which is also delicious. You know,
Olive.
but
God.
you could just do anything. Like pasta. Is
There's
like,
so many different noodles.
Yeah.
Every different noodles is a new meal.
The only one I'll make an exception for is ramen. Like I would eat ramen every day. But
So you're gonna sit here and be like, after a long day of hard work, like there's no other pasta dish that'll get you going but a fucking 50-cent ramen. That's
Hell yeah.
the one to be
Over a
like,
nice
oh, okay,
piping
Louie.
hot.
hell yeah.
I can't do that. I gotta have like the real deal
Damn.
now.
But see, those are alkaline noodles, not actual like. So
I don't know, man.
just to further solidify myself as a pasta snob.
Well,
I'm hearing
thanks,
angry
Nathan, for
Italian.
bringing that
That's-
question.
that's your
and
handle.
on over
See,
here.
like I would rather skip the serving of spaghetti and just have another piece of chicken. You know, like that's my take on it.
What if I cut chicken into thin, tiny noodles?
Hell yeah! Now we're
You
talking.
had like a meat.
You just put
Choo-
the chicken
choodles.
in, you chop the chicken up and put it in with the noodles, whatever noodle you want.
Hold on, now I'm confused. Are you looking? Spaghetti is an entree, not a side dish. So you're eating chicken and
No.
spaghetti?
Yeah, what? Of course.
What?
But I don't eat spaghetti.
That's
I would
you
just
having
have
the two
chicken.
entrees? I mean,
Dude,
it's just with
where do you go that spaghetti is an entree?
anywhere that sells
the
spaghetti,
Italian
it's an
place, what do you
entree.
mean?
The spaghetti warehouse. It's actually there. Too. It's in the name.
Dude, that's course number 2.
I'll have a spaghetti and a chicken, but hold the
Are you
spaghetti.
kidding me? It's like the antipast, and then you have the pasta, and then you have the entree, like
That
chicken
is
or fish.
That is absolutely mind blowing to me. No, like spaghetti and meatballs, but even if you didn't have
Yes.
the meatballs, spaghetti is the entree, not the side
Yeah.
dish.
No.
Garlic bread is the side dish.
What
Salad
like, what
would
do
be
you-
the side
What do you
dish.
have the spaghetti with? Do you just put red sauce on it?
Yeah, you can do
Yeah,
that.
or meatballs, or like hamburger.
Yeah, but
Sausage.
I'd rather have more meatballs than spaghetti.
Well-
like I'll have spaghetti and meatballs, but can I sub meatballs for the spaghetti?
I'm speechless. I have nothing to say to this maniac.
And no, I'm the maniac. There's people that eat cold pasta for breakfast. What the fuck is that?
We need you to tweet to us if spaghetti is an entree or not. We need to know.
Oh,
Yeah.
no.
Please,
Please
is it an
tweet
entree
the
or a
words to
side
the
dish?
nerds.
Or leave a comment because we need to finalize this. We need to run a poll or something.
God.
When
This
Sean
actually
finally
blows my
makes
mind
his
because
Twitter
now I think
account.
about it, macaroni and cheese is always sold as a side, though. It's
Right.
rarely sold as a main dish, but spaghetti's
Right.
never sold as a side, ever.
Unless you get that big, like,
Yeah,
baked
what?
mac and cheese with, like, the 5 different cheeses, you know?
I'm trying to think of what other pasta would be sold as a side dish. Macaroni's like the only one that comes to mind, though. Or
No,
like a pasta.
Well, like the only pasta that I think of that would be an entree would be like gnocchi or tortellini. Like those are the only two, or ravioli.
I would think of
But they're like
Like, you get, like,
stuffed
chicken
pastas.
parmesan or something like that. Spaghetti with it, with the
Oh,
chicken.
Yeah, but
Yeah, that
spaghetti's
is-
on the side.
You're right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But then that's the whole dish,
Which
though.
is cool.
Chicken
That's
parmesan.
cool too. You're still enjoying the pasta,
But
and
I'm
you get a
saying,
little
like,
extra.
Parmesan
instead
on
of
top
eating
of a
that
layer of
serving of
spaghetti,
spaghetti,
it's
I'd
chicken
rather just
parmesan.
put another piece of chicken on there. Like just
It completes the meal, man.
Oh my god.
no.
Oh my god.
I'm also glad that you printed that question.
It's not. It's actually. It's
I know- I know.
On basics on how to set up my mount for my computer.
I figured it was nothing, but it seemed more official when it was on a piece
It's
of
like
paper.
it's just
so-
one sentence on the paper.
I appreciate that.
I ended up not doing it. I was printing out my story instead of having it on the computer, and I was gonna like print out on the other side some really funny picture and then hold it
that
up.
would be really funny.
Oh, God.
I'll do it. That's good.
Oh.
That's
I'm just gonna, next time I do it, I'm gonna have a printout. I'm gonna have some degenerate picture on the back for each episode.
Right.
Lord, Lord help me.
Oh,
I'm putting a poll in the Discord. I mean,
Yeah, we'll put a poll.
Go
on
for
Discord,
it.
we'll put a
I know
poll on
I know I
Twitter.
can't be the only person.
No, you're a
There's
psycho.
no way. You're crazy.
Nah.
Next week, because I think we're pretty good. to
Was
start
that our
talking
only
about
question?
it, but
This is the most important question.
that was the most important one. Yeah, that's the only one I had. No, again, if you guys you get this far, listen to it. If you have any questions, tweet at us, email us, wordness@gmail.com. Those of you watching visually, there's no excuses anymore. Bottom left corner, at Words to the Nerds, right there for you to see. Let us know what you think. If you're on Apple Podcasts, give us that 5-star review. If not, get the fuck out.
Squish that subscription button and
Squish that subscribe.
ring-a-ling that little bell, for notifications.
Each week we're working on it, getting better, trying to think of some new stuff to bring you. And but that being said, we're having a lot of fun. It's progressively getting better. This is going to be the best one, albeit some mistakes visually that we have. But we're getting there, moving forward. One of these
And
days,
Sam's back.
The Untitled Podcast.
the
best one.
Untitled Podcast. I think I can
Curtis,
fix it
move
in,
up a little bit.
Adobe Premiere, though.
But, no, higher.
I think I'll be able to.
We're in different spots on growth screen.
I know, but it'll be funny to see who Sean thinks he's like messing with.
Because on mine, Sean's just picking up no one. There's nobody.
Yeah, that's what
Curtis
he's
is
in the
just
bottom
going
left.
into the sky. Like
He's in the bottom left. Although earlier it looked like Groat-handed Sam Mintz whenever at the very beginning.
Like, here you go.
Just having to work out.
Wait, no, I gotta come from down here.
Man. You guys got anything else before I sign us off?
I think that's it.
Oh, actually,
Pika
public
Pika.
announcement real quick. And I don't know if I said this earlier, maybe I heard it, but again, if you tweet at any of those tags under our names, it's not going to be us. So, but if you do a little digging,
No, please tweet at the person who stole my Twitter handle. Because I don't know who she is, but I want that Twitter handle
Hey.
back. She's had the same profile picture for like 5 years. I'm so upset.
Well, but stick with at Words to the Nerds. We'll definitely respond there. Next week is going to be over THQ Nordic and whatever the hell that company is.
I'm really curious about that one.
Lord.
And
There's a lot of stuff in there that I don't know what's going on.
also, I got a question for you guys. I'm gonna leave it to Twitter because I'm gonna have you guys try and answer that for me because I either have a nice pair of headphones or I sell it and make $300. So I need to know what to do. I'm confused.
What do you got? The AirPods too?
No. It's some of those Bose.
Bose
headphones. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for listening. This has been the Wordness to the Nerdness podcast. And we will be back again here next Thursday and every Thursday after that. Till then, stay nerdy.
Next week, talk about dessert versus dinner.
Oh, man.
Yeah.